Hello you, welcome back to On this very special episode, we're going to be doing a studio tour. Welcome back to my studio. It's a bit different than it was last time we did this. There's more keyboards. You know, they say keyboards breed in captivity, but I really don't know. Oh, we'll start with the big workhorses of my studio. These two keyboards. This is the Soundchaser Computer Music System, a digital synthesis package from 1983. Now, some of you kids in the audience may be wondering, what is a synthesizer? A synthesizer is a keyboard-based instrument given to us by God himself so we can make fart noises on command. Now, the Soundchaser is an FM synthesizer, which means it generates sound by... This, along with the hardware being used to generate these sounds, lets the Soundchaser make some interesting noises, like organs. Brassy sounds. And anything in between. Now, the Soundchaser is controlled mainly by an Apple II Plus computer. The keyboard itself functions as just that, a keyboard. This here is TurboTracks, a 16-track digital sequencer and playback software. This here is the preset stream. As you can see, P0 through PF are your presets. It uses F because it's written in this weird computer language called hex that I don't expect most of you to understand. Likewise, at the top, 0 through F represents the stored waveforms on the computer. Using this, we can mark out which waveforms we want for which preset, which are marked by the plus in this matrix. Presets 0 through 7 use a gradual side-to-side of each of the waveforms, whereas presets 8 through F use a much more erratic layout. With a quick press of the escape key, it brings us to the sequencer menu, and this is just that, a digital sequencer. 16 individually definable tracks, which you can define by preset, volume, or mode. This is useful for setting sequences for use in playback live or in studio. These preset sequences can be played back at any time by pressing the spacebar. Next up, we have the Greengate DS3 Digital Sampler. Now I can already hear you whippersnappers asking, what's a sampler? Well, the answer is... With this being the case, there's two distinct things we can put into this sampler: musical instruments and sound effects. With the power of sampled sound effects, we can perform surgery, ride a motorcycle, die, and go to hell. This insane ensemble of sound effects came courtesy of a sound library. Sound libraries were and continue to be an easy way for musicians to get sound effects, samples, and more. Some of the musical capabilities of this thing include This, of course, is just a so-called sonic seasoning of the sounds this thing can make. Theoretically, the possibilities are endless. Just like with the Sound Chaser, the Green Gate is powered by an Apple II. This here is the play/sequence menu. This is the menu where you do all your playback from. Up top, you find your list of loaded sounds and this blinking light, which represents a metronome. Now, the Green Gate outputs to 4 channels, which can be toggled between the 4 channels themselves or a mix with this switch. Each channel lights up to indicate when it's being used. Now, there's all sorts of sonic possibilities and options that I haven't explored in this video, but I might go in depth more with this thing later. Now that the workhorse synth and sampler and computers have been explored, we get to go through the rest of the studio. This fancy schmancy box up here is the Votrax Type and Talk, a versatile 1980s era speech synthesizer that lets me do things like this.
How about a nice game of chess?
This is an oscilloscope. It takes an electrical input and displays it on this screen. In this case, the electrical input of choice would be audio. This is where I store my floppy disks. These have samples, programs, and other things that help the synthesizers over there run. Now we have this bad boy, the Yamaha PSS 480, my other FM synth. Next, on top of the Yamaha, we have the Casio MT36. This was actually my very first keyboard that my uncle gave me when I was 11 years old. This is the Yamaha DD5 drum machine, made to function with the PSS 480 over MIDI. This is my Kenwood stereo integrated hi-fi amplifier. I feed stuff from the Sound Chaser into it, as well as this cassette deck. This is my Signaflex 4-channel mini mixer. These are my Lake stereo headphones. My PV guitar amp and bass chorus pedal. Extra disc storage and 9600 baud dial-up modem. Spare CB radio and label maker. Bad cable management, as well as various bits of documentation. Monitor top adornments. Bulletin board of important documents and random pins. Her. And last but certainly not least, my Lion 4-string bass. This concludes the 2024 Superphone Studio Tour. Stay tuned for a cover of Our Friends Electric by Gary Newman featuring these 2 monstrosities. It's cold outside, and the paint's peeling off of my walls. There's a man outside, in a long coat, grey hat, smoking a cigarette. And the light fades out, and I wonder what I'm doing in a room like this. There's a knock at the door, and just for a second I thought I remembered you. I'm alone, I can think for myself about ideals and issues, things I just don't understand. A little white light at night, slight touch at times. I would think about anything for you. the door. It's the friend that I left in the hallway. Please sit down. A candlelit shadow on the wall near the bed. You know I hate to ask, but the friend's electric. Only mine's broke down, and now I've no one to love. So I found out the reason for your phone calls and smiles, and it hurts and I'm lonely, and she never tried. I miss you tonight. It's time to leave. See, it meant everything to me.